We're looking at the Vetro Vero Flat Pitcher, displayed in Vetro Vero Studios in southern Pennsylvania. Michael Shunke started a clear bubble, and Josie Blood has gathered up some colored glass. She's bringing that color over to Michael, who will cut it off and roll it over his bubble. This is called doing a color overlay, and it's a common way to introduce color into a piece, especially if we want the color to be even and symmetrical.
You see all that snarfly stuff in there? Right in there where my blades are now? That ends up, you might get lucky.
Michael's then handed the glass to Josie while he's raking the furnace. Michael was pushing the top layer of clear glass back. Meanwhile, Josie has rolled that color back onto the bubble. She's overlaid the color and made the bubble even and symmetrical. After handing it back to Michael, he can then gather through that nice clear layer of glass. So adding a whole full layer onto what he had already. You can see the color inside and the clear rolling on the outside. This furnace runs at 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit and is running 24 hours a day. Michael then uses a wooden tool called the block to shape up the glass. He'll move over to the steel table called the marver, where he's cooling the tip of the bubble down. And once in a while he'll blow a little bit. Again, he wants to get to that place where he can make that flattened vase form we saw at the beginning. But the steps he takes to get there don't always make sense. This thing will start off kind of like a marshmallow, and as Josie continues to inflate the bubble from time to time, Michael will use that wet newspaper to start to push the bubble around and shape it into that kind of elongated football form.
Blow. Stop.
Michael and Josie have a very specific shape in mind, so all the steps they're taking are to get the bubble into that very specific shape. It's an old, folded up wet newspaper that Michael's using to shape the piece. Once he gets the form he wants, he'll mark the side. Again, we want to flatten this bubble down. Josie's got the bubble extra hot. She'll bring it on over to Michael, who's going to use some cork pads to squeeze the bubble down. Again, it is a flattened pitcher, so the corks allow the bubble to get flattened without distorting the overall profile. Once the piece is flattened the way they want it,
That was the other TA when I met Lino at Haystack.
Michael will let the bubble cool down a little bit in preparation
And
for
he
adding
really
the foot.
took me under his wing. Like, you know, you're a good little guy.
The foot starts its life as a gather of clear glass. But Josie then rolls through some crushed colored glass called frit. She'll then roll up some 23 karat gold on the outside of the blue glass. This is the foot. She'll bring it over and drop it, just like they dropped the color at the beginning for the overlay. In the same way, Michael snips it off with the diamond shears and uses the metal tools, the tag, to roll the glass back. As Michael stays on the side making the edges, Josie's got the wooden paddle flattening the bottom of the foot. It's a tricky shape to make because the glass wants to roll up the side. Once they have the foot the way they want it, the next step is to add the punty. This will be the new handle for the piece. It'll support it when it's time to break it off. Michael attaches it, makes sure it's centered, and then with a little water and a tap, he's broken the vase off the pipe. Now it's time to work on the spout for the pitcher. Reheating in the fire, Michael wants to get the neck nice and gooey so he can move in and trim the glass down a little bit. Michael will begin with just a trim to get rid of some of that sloppy material on the top before coming in and cutting one slit down the back side. He wants a nice even U-shaped cut, but he starts with a single slit and then heats up the area that he wants to cut more using the propane torch
Cars, property.
before going back in with the duck-billed shears. As he cuts first down and then back up, you can see Josie using some of the tweezers to make sure that the lip doesn't collapse in on itself. Michael will stretch the glass out a little bit more in preparation for the final trim that will get the part that's the actual spout itself, cutting up and then down. The trimming process can pull the lip of the piece a little bit off center, so Michael will take a moment to straighten it out.
I am.
And then he'll work on the opening itself, making sure that spout is perfectly symmetrical when you look at it from the top. Josie's gathered up some more color and gold. This time, it's for a band around the top of the piece. Michael will mash that down with his tag, and then make an extra little flat spot for the handle. Then Michael can put the finishing touches on the curve of the piece. The handle will start the same way as the wrap and the foot. Clear glass rolled through crushed blue glass with 23 karat gold rolled onto the outside. This one's a little different though. Josie's going to pre-shape it with her tweezers. She's put 2 creases in. And then with her shears, she'll cut the end off. This is called making a Roman handle. And it was popular 2,000 years ago when the Romans were doing a lot of glass blowing. Heated that bit up, brought it to Michael, who attached it, snipped it, and now is stretching it and then bending it into the form that they have in mind. Michael has to work quickly because that glass wants to cool down. Once it hits about 1,000 degrees, you can't shape it anymore. The next step is to heat the very top of the handle.
You got it, it's fine.
Michael can then take care of the final adjustments before the piece is ready to put away in the oven. Once everything's in its proper place, it's time to add a little bit more heat into the bottom of the piece. When it's time to take the piece off, I'll bring it on over to the knockoff station, and with a light tap, break the punty out. We want to take the piece off at about 1,000 degrees, and then Josie's using that torch at about 4,000 degrees to melt the break-off area so it's nice and smooth. The piece goes into the annealing oven, which is close to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and it takes about a day to cool it down to room temperature. On the day I visited the shop, Michael and Josie created 2 pitchers, and they love to display them in groupings so that you can overlay and see how the colors add to make a third. Michael Shunke, Josie Gluck, Vetro Vero Glass Studios in southern Pennsylvania. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Greg Owen, G-Man on Fire, and have a great day.